The Lagos night paused with an eerie stillness, the kind that settles before a storm breaks over the city's chaotic sprawl. The compound, now a skeletal remnant of its former vibrancy, stood under a crescent moon, its few remaining flats lit by flickering lanterns. Only 3 neighbors, Papa Is, Mama Tond, and Kemi, clung to their homes, their courage forged in desperation. Chinedu, his heart a battlefield of love and betrayal, stood ready, the Dibia's charm necklace warm against his chest, its beads and snake form pulsing with protective energy. Baba Ogan's words echoed in his mind, trap her passed on to break the curse. Tonight, he would face Amoka, his wife, the green mamba who had claimed so many lives for the snake court's sinister ritual. Welcome to Zoe's Ancestral African Folktales, a place where ancient wisdom, magic, and storytelling come alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a tale from our ancestors. The community's video was a fortress of resolve. The 2 Dibias from Alemosho, their faces stern under the weight of spiritual duty, had set up a makeshift altar in the courtyard, adorned with cowrie shells, palm fronds, and a clay pot of smoldering herbs. Their chants to Ogun, Shango, and Oromala filled the air, mingling with the distant hum of Lagos's nightlife, Okoda's roaring, street vendors closing shop. Papa Is gripped a machete, his eyes scanning the shadows, while Mama Town clutched a rosary, her toddler asleep in her arms. Kemi, young but fierce, held a net blessed by the Dibias, his hand steady despite the fear in his gut. Chinedu had shared the truth, Amoka was the snake, bound to a court aiming to claim their land for a shrine of immortality. We end this tonight, he said, his voice breaking but resolute. Amoka, in their flat, felt the trap closing like a noose. Her transformations were faltering, scales lingered on her skin, her eyes slitted even in daylight. The snake mother's last vision had been a lash of fury. You failed me. Finish them, or I'll bind you to scales forever. She ate her forbidden snake food, raw toads, bitter cola, venom-soaked herbs, in the backyard, her hands trembling as she forced it down. The cult's energy was fading, her power fraying like a worn wrapper. But love for Chinedu gnawed at her, a flicker of humanity fighting her cursed duty. She couldn't kill him, not yet, but the 3 neighbors had to go. As midnight struck, Amoka slipped from bed, ensuring Chinedu was out on patrol. Her body rippled, the green mamba emerging, its scales duller now, less vibrant. She slithered toward Papa Ise's flat, aiming to bite him in sleep, her venom set to mimic a heart attack. But Chinedu, anticipating her move, had set a trap. He'd sprinkled Baba Ogan's powder, ground herbs and snake venom neutralized by incantations, around the compound's key points. As Amoka crossed the courtyard, the powder stung her scales, slowing her. Chinedu, hidden behind a wall, spotted her. Now, he shouted, signaling Kemi. Kemi threw the blessed net, its threads glowing faintly with Dibia magic. Amoka thrashed, hissing, but the net held, its charms burning her. The Dibias rushed forward, chanting, their staffs raised. Papa Is and Mama Ton joined, torches blazing. It's her. Papa Is roared, recognizing the snake from the previous night's chase. Chinedu stepped closer, tears in his eyes, the charm glowing hot. Amoka, stop this, he pleaded, but her serpentine eyes glared, defiant. The community held her until dawn, their chants drowning her hisses. As the first light crept over Lagos, Amoka writhed, unable to transform. Was the curse breaking? Chinedu clung to hope, but the night's truth had exposed her fully, setting the stage for a final battle. Dawn painted the Lagos sky in hues of orange and pink, but the compound was a cauldron of fear and fury. The net held Amoka's snake form, her green scales glinting dully as she thrashed, her hisses weakening under the Dibia's relentless chants. The survivors, Papa Is, Mama Tond, Kemi, and Chinedu, stood in a circle, their faces a mix of horror and resolve. The Dibia sprinkled more holy water, mixed with alligator pepper, its sharp scent cutting through the morning mist. Neighbors from nearby compounds, drawn by the commotion, gathered at the gate, whispering, "No witch! Snake woman!" The air buzzed with their fear, Lagosa's love for juju tales fueling the crowd. Chinedu's charm bent against his chest, its power repelling Amoka's attempts to lunge. "Amoka, it's over," he said, his voice cracking. The net's magic forced her to flicker, scales melting into skin, then back. For a moment, her human face appeared, eyes wide with panic. "Chinedu, help me," she gasped, but the snake form reclaimed her. The Dibias warned, "She fights the curse. Hold her till the sun is high." Papa is gripped his machete, ready to strike, but Chinedu blocked him. "She's my wife. There's still a chance." The crowd grew, some hurling insults, others praying. Mama turned clutched her toddler, whispering, "Jesus save us." Kemi, net in hand, shouted, "She killed my brother." The Dibias intensified their ritual, burning herbs that made Amoka writhe in pain. Her scales dulled further, her movement sluggish. Chinedu knelt by the net, tears falling. "Why, Amoka? Why our home?" Her serpentine eyes softened briefly, a glimmer of the woman he loved, but no words came. As the sun climbed, Amoka's form stabilized, half human, half snake, a grotesque hybrid. The crowd gasped, some fled, screaming of demons. The Dibias explained, "The curse holds her between worlds. She must confess to break it." Chinedu pleaded, "Amoka, tell us everything. Save yourself." But her hisses grew defiant, the snake mother's influence lingering. She lunged again, but the charm's glow burned her, forcing her back. The exposure spread panic. Police arrived, alerted by neighbors, but the Dibias waved them off. "This is spirit work, not law." Chinedu shielded Amoka from the crowd's growing anger, his love a fragile shield. The net held, but her strength waned. The snake mother's voice echoed in her mind, "You've lost. I come for you." Amoka's fear spiked, she faced eternal damnation as a snake if the cult abandoned her. The morning stretched, the compound a stage for her exposure, and Chinedu's heart broke as he realized saving her might mean losing her forever. The sun hung high, baking the compound in relentless heat. Amoka, trapped in the net, flickered between forms, her human face emerging more often, sweat-soaked and pale, her eyes pleading. The crowd swelled, Lagosers curious spilling in from nearby streets, their phones snapping photos, whispers of a snake witch spreading like wildfire. The Dibias maintained their chants, their voices hoarse but unwavering, the altar smoke curling upward. Chinedu stood by the net, his machete lowered, the charm glowing. Papa Is and Kemi held the crowd back, while Mama Ton prayed, her rosary clicking frantically. Amoka's human form stabilized, her body trembling. "Chinedu, please," she sobbed, her voice raw. "I didn't choose this. The cult, they forced me, back in the village. I was poor, alone, they promised power, beauty." She spoke of her initiation, a dark grove, snake bites, potions that burned her soul. "They said I'd serve them or die. The land here, it's sacred, for their shrine. Each death built it." The crowd murmured, some pitying, others cursing. Chinedu knelt, tears streaming. "You killed Nkechi, our neighbors. How could you?" "I love you," she whispered. "I fought to spare you, but the curse, it controls me. Help me break it." The Dibias nodded, confession weakened the curse. "But Papa is part," she lies. "She's killed too many." Kemi agreed, "Justice for my family." The crowd surged, some throwing stones. Chinedu shielded her, shouting, "Give her a chance." The Dibias sprinkled powder, calming her snake urges, but warned, she must renounce the cult fully, or the curse holds. Amoka's plea wavered, fear of the snake mother's wrath battled her love for Chinedu. A vision flickered, her leader's voice, "Speak, and you're forsaken." She hesitated, and scales rippled again. Chinedu grabbed her hand, ignoring the crowd's roars. "Choose us, Amoka. Choose me." Her tears fell, but defiance lingered. The Dibias prepared a ritual to force truth, burning a gourd of herbs that made her cough and writhe. The day dragged, tension mounting, as Amoka's plea hung between redemption and doom, the compound a crucible of judgment. As dusk settled over Lagos, painting the sky in fire reds, the compound pulsed with spiritual tension. Amoka, still netted, flickered between forms, her human cries mixing with serpentine hisses. The Dibias' chants grew urgent, their altar now a blaze of herbs and feathers, the air thick with sacred smoke. The crowd, though thinned, remained vigilant, their fear tempered by anger. Chinedu stood by Amoka, his charm glowing, his heart torn between love and the horror of her deeds. Papa is, Mama turned, and Kemi guarded the perimeter, machetes ready, while the police lingered, unsure how to handle a spiritual battle. In Amoka's mind, the snake mother erupted, her vision shattering the dusk's calm. The forest shrine appeared, snakes riding, the mother's serpent tail lashing. "You betray us," she roared, her eyes blazing. "Confess, and you're cast out, eternal snake, no redemption." Amoka's body convulsed, scales overtaking her skin, her form stabilizing as a grotesque hybrid, human torso, serpentine lower half. The crowd screamed, some fleeing, others praying louder. Chinedu gasped, "Amoka, fight her." But the mother's wrath surged, her power forcing Amoka's transformation further. The Dibias countered, pouring holy water and chanting to weaken the cult's hold. Amoka's scales burned, her hisses turning to screams. "She's punishing me," she cried, her human voice breaking through. The mother's influence weakened her powers, Amoka's transformations faltered, leaving her trapped in the hybrid form. The crowd demanded blood, but Chinedu blocked them. "She's still my wife." The Dibias warned, the cult fights back. "We must sever her bond now." They prepared a ritual, blood from a sacrificed goat, mixed with herbs, painted on Amoka's body. She thrashed, the mother's voice screaming in her head, "You're mine." But Chinedu's touch, his whispered, "I love you," sparked a flicker of resistance. The night deepened, the compound a battleground of spirits and wills, as Amoka faced the mother's wrath, her fate hanging in the balance. The night grew colder, the Lagos air heavy with the scent of burning herbs and the hum of spiritual warfare. The Dibias, sweat beading on their brows, intensified their ritual, their altar now a blazing centerpiece in the courtyard. Amoka, trapped in her hybrid form, half human, half snake, writhed in the net, her cries a mix of pain and defiance. The crowd, reduced to a core of brave onlookers, watched in awe and terror, their phones capturing the surreal scene for Lagos's gossip mills. Chinedu knelt by the net, his charm glowing like a small sun, his eyes locked on Amoka's. "Fight it, my love," he whispered, clinging to hope. The Dibias, led by Baba Ogun, began the ritual to sever Amoka's bond to the snake cult. They chanted in Yoruba, invoking Oromola for wisdom and Oya for strength, their voices rising over the crowd's murmurs. A young goat was brought, its throat slit, blood collected in a calabash. Baba Ogun mixed it with herbs, bitter leaf, alligator pepper, and ground snake scales, creating a potent paste. "This will cut her from the mother," he said, painting symbols on Amoka's trembling body. She screamed, the paste burning her scales, her human half gasping for breath. The snake mother fought back, her presence a shadow in the air, hissing through Amoka's mind, "You cannot escape." Amoka's form flickered, scales receding, then surging. The Dibia sprinkled holy water, its sizzle on her skin drawing gasps from the crowd. Chinedu held her hand, ignoring the scales. "Confess, Amaka. Break free." She sobbed, "I killed for them, Nkechi, the neighbors, for their shrine. I had no choice." The confession weakened the curse, her body shifting more human, but the mother's hold lingered. The ritual escalated, drums beat, the Dibias danced, their staffs glowing with spiritual fire. The crowd joined, praying in Yoruba, Igbo, and English, their voices a shield. Amoka's screams faded, she whispered, "I want to be free." But the mother's wrath surged, a wind rattling the compound's gates. The Dibias warned, she must renounce the cult fully, or it fights to keep her. Chinedu pleaded, "Choose us, Amoka." As midnight passed, the ritual held her on the edge of salvation, the compound a crucible of hope and horror. Morning broke over Lagos, the sun piercing the haze, but the compound remained locked in tension. Amoka, now mostly human but with patches of scales, lay exhausted in the net, her confession hanging in the air. The crowd had grown again, neighbors returning with relatives, their anger boiling. Papa is, his machete raised, shouted, "She killed my son. Justice now." Kemi, eyes red from loss, agreed, "She took my family." Mama turned, clutching her toddler, wept but nodded. No more deaths. The Dibias, their ritual paused, held the crowd back, warning, "Killing her now strengthens the cult." Chinedu stood between Amoka and the mob, his charm glowing. "She's confessed. Let us save her." He revealed her story, the village pact, the snake mother's shrine plan, the land's sacred energy. The crowd wavered, some pitied, others raged. A man threw a stone, grazing Amoka's arm. She flinched, scales rippling briefly. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "but Papa is roared, sorry won't bring them back." The Dibias proposed a compromise, banish Amoka after the ritual, but let her live to expose the cult. They resumed chanting, painting more symbols on her body, the blood paste burning deeper. Amoka's scales faded, her human form stabilizing, but her eyes darted, fearing the mother's return. The crowd debated, some wanted blood, others mercy. Chinedu's plea swayed a few, she was forced. "Let's fight the real enemy, the cult." The community's justice tittered. Police, lingering at the gate, were convinced to wait, awed by the spiritual battle. Amoka, weakened, whispered to Chinedu, "I'll tell you where the mother hides." Her words sparked hope, but the crowd's anger simmered, ready to erupt if she faltered. The day stretched, the compound a court of human and spiritual judgment. The midday sun scorched the Ikeji compound, its relentless heat turning the courtyard into a shimmering haze, as if the land itself sweated under the weight of its tragedies. Amoka sat in the blessed net, her body now fully human, though frail and trembling from the Dibia's rituals. Her once radiant beauty was dulled, her skin ashen, her eyes sunken, yet still holding a flicker of the charm that had captivated Chinedu and disarmed the neighbors. The crowd, a volatile mix of survivors and onlookers from nearby streets, encircled her, their voices a cacophony of curses, prayers, and accusations. The air was thick with the acrid smoke of the Dibia's altar, where herbs and feathers burned, mingling with the scent of Lagos's diesel fumes and roasted corn from a distant vendor. Chinedu knelt beside the net, his charm necklace glowing faintly, his face etched with pain as he looked at the woman he loved, now exposed as the serpent who had killed their community. Baba Ogun, the lead Dibia, stood tall, his staff raised, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Speak all, woman. Name the heart of this evil, or the spirits will bind you forever." His assistant, a younger Dibia with beads woven into his braids, sprinkled ash around the net, reinforcing the spiritual barrier. Amoka's chest heaved, her breath ragged, as she fought the lingering pull of the snake mother's influence. The crowd pressed closer, some clutching charms, others brandishing sticks, their anger fueled by loss. Papa is, his eyes red from grief over his son, shouted, "She killed my boy. Let her burn." Kemi, the young man who had lost his brother, gripped his machete, nodding fiercely. Mama turned, her toddler clinging to her wrapper, wept silently, her rosary clicking as she prayed for divine judgment. Amoka's voice, weak but piercing, rose above the din. "I'll tell you everything," she said, tears streaming down her face. "It started in my village, years ago. I was an orphan, starving, with nothing but rags. The snake cult found me, promised me beauty, power, a life beyond poverty. They took me to a grove near Owo, where Mama Aya, the snake mother, initiated me. She described the ritual: a dark night under a blood moon, snakes biting her arms, potions burning her throat, binding her soul to the cult. They said I'd serve them or die. I had no choice. The crowd murmured, some softening with pity, others hardening with rage. Chinedu's hands trembled as he listened, his love warring with horror. She continued, her voice breaking. This compound sits on sacred ground, a ley line where ancestor spirits converge with the earth's power. The cult needs it for a ritual to grant immortality to their inner circle, turning them into eternal snake beings. Each death I caused fed the spirits, building their shrine. She named her victims: Nkechi, Chinedu's sister, the Adibeos, the Okafors, Emeka and Ifioma, her voice faltering with each name. I fought to spare you, Chinedu. I love you, but the curse forced my hand. She revealed the cult's network: initiates in Lagos, Ibadan, Benin, and Port Harcourt, all working to claim sacred sites. The snake mother, Mama Aya, hides in a shrine deep in Owo's forest, guarded by snake spirits. Destroy it, and the cult falls. The crowd erupted, some shouted for mercy, moved by her tears, others demanded blood. Papa is launched, his machete gleaming, but Chinedu blocked him, shouting, "She's helping us now." The Dibias intervened, their chants calming the mob. Boba Ogun nodded. Her confession breaks the curse's hold, but she must renounce the cult fully. Amoka hesitated, fear of the snake mother's wrath flashing in her eyes. A vision flickered, Mama Aya's voice hissing, "Speak, and you're forsaken." But Chinedu grasped her hand, ignoring the crowd's roars. "Choose us, Amoka. Choose me." The Dibias resumed their ritual, painting more blood-paste symbols on Amoka's body, the mixture of goat's blood and herbs burning her skin. She screamed, scales briefly rippling, then fading completely. Her confession had weakened the cult's grip, but the mother's shadow lingered, a chill wind rattling the compound's gates. The community split, those like Mama turned, who saw a broken woman, urged mercy, others, like Papa is, demanded vengeance. Chinedu stood firm, his love a fragile shield. Amoka whispered, "I'll lead you to the shrine. End this." Her words sparked hope, but the crowd's anger simmered, ready to ignite if she faltered. The days stretched on, the compound a court of human and spiritual judgment, as Amoka's confession laid bare the cult's dark heart, setting the stage for a final confrontation. As night cloaked Lagos in a tapestry of stars and city lights, the compound transformed into a war camp, its air electric with purpose. Chinedu, the Dibias, Papa Is, Kemi, and Mama Ton prepared to march on the snake mother's shrine, guided by Amoka's confession. She remained in the net, guarded by Boba Ogun's assistant, her body weak but her eyes burning with a mix of fear and resolve. The survivors armed themselves with machetes, torches, and charms, beads, feathers, and gourds filled with holy water blessed by the Dibias. Word of the snake witch had spread, drawing brave souls from nearby compounds, their faces set with determination to end the terror. A rickety bus, borrowed from a local church, waited at the gate, its engine coughing as it prepared to carry them to Owo, a 4-hour drive into the heart of Ondo State. The journey was tense, the bus rattling along potholed roads, the Dibias chanting softly to shield the group from spiritual attacks. Chinedu sat beside Amoka, now in chains to appease the crowd, her wrist raw from the net's ropes. "I'll make this right," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the engine's roar. He nodded, torn between love and the weight of her crimes. Papa Is, gripping his machete, muttered, "She leads us to death or victory." Mama Ton prayed her rosary, while Kemi clutched a charm, his eyes scanning the dark for signs of snakes. They reached the forest near Owo at midnight, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and rotting leaves. The shrine was hidden deep in the bush, its entrance marked by twisted trees draped in vines, their branches forming an arch like a serpent's jaws. The Dibias led the way, their staffs glowing faintly with spiritual fire, chanting to Ogun for strength and Eshu for guidance. As they entered the clearing, the snake mother appeared, her hybrid form towering, a woman's torso atop a massive serpent's tail, scales shimmering like oil on water. Her eyes blazed, and around her swarmed snake spirits, their hisses a deafening chorus. "You dare challenge me," she roared, her voice shaking the trees, leaves falling like rain. The battle erupted. The Dibias raised their staffs, chanting to bind the mother's power, while Chinedu threw holy water, its droplets sizzling on her scales. Papa Is and Kemi swung machetes, cutting through ethereal snakes that lunged from the shadows. Mama turned and the neighbors prayed, their voices, Christian, Yoruba, Igbo, forming a spiritual shield, weakening the mother's magic. Amoka, unchained by Chinedu's trust, whispered counter-incantations from the cult, her words unraveling the shrine's defenses. "You're finished, mother," she hissed, her voice defiant despite her weakness. The snake mother struck back, her tail lashing, knocking Kemi to the ground. Snake spirits beat at the group, but the Dibia's charms repelled them, burning their forms to ash. Chinedu's charm glowed, protecting him as he slashed at the mother's tail, drawing black blood. The shrine's altar, a stone slab carved with serpent runes, began to crack, its energy faltering. Amoka, staggering, joined the chant, her betrayal of the cult fueling the Dibia's power. The mother screamed, her form shrinking, scales dulling. The community's unity, prayers, machetes, and charms overwhelmed her. With a final chant, Baba Ogun drove his staff into the altar, shattering it. The mother dissolved into a cloud of smoke, her screams fading into the night, the snake spirits vanishing. The forest fell silent, the shrine's power broken. The group stood panting, their faces lit by torchlight, victory had won. Amoka collapsed, her body trembling, but her eyes held a spark of hope. Chinedu caught her, whispering, "It's over." But the cost of the battle lingered, and Amoka's fate remained uncertain as they prepared to return to Lagos. The journey back to Lagos was somber, the bus rattling through the pre-dawn darkness, its passengers silent save for the Dibia's soft chants of thanks to the ancestors. Amoka lay in Chinedu's arms, her body racked with pain from a venomous bite the snake mother had landed during the battle. Her skin was clammy, her breath shallow, the last traces of scales gone, leaving her fully human but fading fast. The shrine's destruction had severed the curse, but the mother's final act had been to poison her betrayer. Chinedu held her tightly, tears streaming, his charm now cool against his chest. "Stay with me, Amoka," he whispered, his voice breaking. The compound, when they returned, was a ghost town, its few remaining residents gathered in the courtyard, awaiting news. Papa Is, Kemi, and Mama Town recounted the battle, their voices odd but heavy. "The mother is gone, the shrine destroyed," Baba Ogun declared, sprinkling ash to purify the land. But all eyes turned to Amoka, carried from the bus, her body limp. The crowd, once baying for her blood, now watched in silence, some with pity, others with lingering anger. Her confession and role in the battle had softened their hearts, but the scars of loss run deep. Amoka stirred, her eyes meeting Chinedu's. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice a thread. "I loved you, had to save you." She recounted her fight, how she'd whispered counter spells, weakening the mother, knowing the bite was coming. "I chose you over them." Her sacrifice had tipped the battle, her betrayal of the cult sealing its end. The Dibias confirmed it, the curse was broken, the land free, the snake mother's spirit banished to the spirit realm, unable to return. Chinedu carried her to their flat, laying her on their bed, the same bed where she transformed night after night. The neighbors followed, some praying, others weeping. Mama Town knelt, her rosary clicking, while Papa Is stood silent, his machete lowered. Kemi, torn between grief and gratitude, muttered, "She saved us, but at what cost?" Amoka's breaths grew fainter, her hand clutching Chinedu's. "Forgive me," she gasped. He nodded, tears falling. I do, my love. Rest now. As dawn broke, painting the room in soft gold, Amoka's eyes closed, her body still. The Dibias chanted a final prayer, guiding her soul to the ancestors. The compound mourned, not just for her victims but for the woman who, in her final act, chose redemption. Chinedu sat by her body, his heart shattered, her sacrifice a bittersweet victory that cleansed the land but left him alone. Weeks later, the Ekeje compound stirred with sensitive life, like a forest recovering after a fire. The mango tree, once a garden place for grief, now shaded new faces, families moving in, weary but hopeful, drawn by cheap rents and whispers of a cleansed land. Chinedu, his face lined beyond his years, had buried Amoka under that tree, her grave marked with smooth stones and a small wooden cross, a nod to her final redemption. The Dibias had blessed the ground, sprinkling holy water and ash, ensuring no trace of the cut remained. The land's spiritual energy, once a beacon for the snake mother, now felt calm, as if the ancestors rested at last. Papa is, Mama turned, and Kemi led the rebuilding, their wounds healing slowly. They organized communal meals, laughter returning in small bursts, though shadows lingered in their eyes. New neighbors brought children, their voices filling the courtyard, chasing away the ghost of the past. Chinedu worked longer hours at the mechanic shop, his hands steady but his heart heavy. He visited Amoka's grave daily, speaking to her as if she could hear. You saved us, he whispered, placing a flower on the stones. Your love won, even through the darkness. The Dibias returned weekly, chanting to protect the compound, their presence a reminder of the battle won. Lagos buzzed on, its markets, traffic, and chaos undeterred, but the compound stood as a testament to resilience. Chinedu, reflecting on Amoka's dual nature, her love and her curse, vowed to honor her sacrifice. He began teaching the children about vigilance, about the spirits that lurk in beauty, ensuring the community would never again fall to such evil. One evening, as the sun set, casting a warm glow over the grave, Chinedu sat under the mango tree, a breeze carrying the scent of jollof rice from a neighbor's kitchen. The compound was alive again, scarred but strong, its unity forged in the crucible of loss and redemption. He smiled faintly, whispering, "Rest well, Amoka. We'll carry on." The new dawn had come, and with it, a promise to guard the light against the shadows. Thanks for watching Zoe's Ancestral African Folktales, where the wisdom of our ancestors lives on. If you enjoyed this story, drop a like, leave a comment with your favorite part, and share it with someone who loves great tales. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next journey into African folklore.